The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondell. My guest is a singer-songwriter based out of the New York, New Jersey area, whose music is inspiring and uplifting. Her unique sound is infectious, and she recently released a new album entitled Feast. We're excited to talk to her about it, so please welcome Kathrene Faith to the show. Welcome, Kathrene.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And for those of you that just heard that, that was my third attempt at the intro. Anyway, great to have you on the show, Kathrene. And, I know you're out of the New York area, and you grew up in Queens, right?
Yes.
Now, Queens, big music area, obviously. I mean, historically, a lot of music came out of Queens, a lot of hip hop music, a lot of rock music. And, your music is uplifting. It's spiritual. It's, I guess, Christian music, correct? So how, and being in New York, I know it's a very secular, music scene. So how, how was your music, in New York? How was it received?
Yeah. I like to say that a lot of the reach has been in the Christian circles that I'm a part of here in New York City. And I recently did a show a couple weeks ago that one of my good friends, hosts around every month, featuring up and coming and established Christian artists in the tri-state area. And it's a really cool kind of songwriter rounds show that features songwriters as well as allows them to not just perform the songs, but also speak, the heart and the process behind each song. And so that was a really awesome opportunity, and also a great way to see just how my songs have resonated. So I think that's how I can answer that question.
Well, I know. I listened to Beginning Again, Glory, Breakfast. Here's To the Ones, Flags. All your songs that I listened to are really, in their own way, unique and amazing. And first of all, your voice is top notch. I mean, you have a great voice, and the sound is just unique. And I can't even explain it. It's eclectic, but I love your sound. I really do. And I know we're going to be playing some music on the show tonight. But I guess, when did you get started in music? Because you have a talent that not a lot of people possess. So talk about your voice talent, and when did you discover that?
Yeah. So I come from quite a musical family. My mom, she's a singer. Grandparents are singers, and have aunts and uncles on both sides who are as well. And from when I can remember, I've been in choirs and all the like. And I also grew up in church. So when I could start uttering any sound, my mom put me in all the choirs and all the groups where I could learn to sing. And my parents also put me in piano lessons. So I like to say that it was cultivated from an early age. And as I continued to learn the medium, learn to sing, and grow a passion for it, I realized that is how I mainly wanted to express myself artistically, because I've also dabbled in other artistic expressions. But so I would say from a really young age, and I never remembered protesting it. It's kind of hard to, as you're a kid, to protest going somewhere where you're being forced to. But I'm really glad that that my parents afforded these opportunities to me, and really cultivated that gift and noticed that early on, and decided to nurture it, because I think from there, just this love of singing itself grew. And then it just became the way that I had decided to express myself.
In church, I know I was in the gospel arena when I was doing music videos, so I'm very familiar with singing in church, and people growing up in the church singing, and a lot of gospel singers, Christian singers, they really honed their craft in the church. And, I know that it was very much, I guess it was fostered, the music piece of it was fostered in the church. And so did you find that, singing in the church was really your beginning and really where, I mean, being a Christian artist as well, in a secular world and on a lot of music, there's some phenomenal Christian and gospel music out there that I wish was more mainstream, and hopefully it will be at some point. But I know there's a huge following in Christian music. In fact, some of the concerts that are out there are sold out. I mean, they're just huge, arena shows. And I mean, do you have I guess, an aspiration to do that? I guess one day, be in one of those arena shows, like a huge arena like Madison Square Garden, let's say. I mean, is that something that you aspire to?
You know, that would definitely be a door I would love to walk through. Yeah.
Who wouldn't, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I just really love singing and I love connecting with people through it.
Yeah.
And so honestly, any platform where I get to do that is such a blessing and yeah, something I would not take for granted or lightly. So
Yeah. I mean, what drives you as an artist? Because I know obviously it's the passion for what you do, but I mean, what drives you? I mean, what's your biggest, I guess motivator for what you do?
you know, it really is, I think what I do is really a natural expression of just beholding God. And honestly, when I behold God in his beauty, there's just something in me that awakens this desire to like respond in some way. And to me, that's music. I'm like, okay, I have to create in such a way that I can capture this, that I can not only capture what I'm beholding, but also capture what I'm feeling and how the truth of who God is transforming me. And so for me, the actual art of creating and that process, and honestly, like getting to experience and know God in a new and fresh way is what really motivates me. And like getting the chance to share that with other people is like the cherry on top, because I also want people to experience that too. Um, and I just think it's fun,
Yeah.
honestly. I think the enjoyment aspect is really like if I don't enjoy like the sounds that are making the songs themselves, like then it's not, you know, making the cutting block or however that saying goes. But
Yeah.
uh, I really like truly enjoy the process of like making these songs, and I'm like already excited to start the new project. Just
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, I mean, I think, I want to take a step back. So I know I said, wouldn't you want to be in a big arena show? But it's really not about that, right? I mean, it's about, even if it's just for one person, inspiring that person and, changing them through your words of music. Because I think, anybody who does music, regardless of the genre of music, I think, if you inspire somebody by your words, I think it doesn't matter if it's, an arena full of 20,000 people or if it's a handful of people or one person. I mean, it's really the inspiration, I think, has got to be gratifying to you.
100%. Yeah. Um, one of the daughters of the producer with who I worked with, and he's an awesome friend and mentor of mine. Like one of my still to this day favorite comments is how much she just loves dancing to one of my songs. That to me is like I can live in that,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
So I really love that. Yeah, that personal connection, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's well said. And going through your songs, I know you have 10 songs on this album. And let's talk about some of those songs. 'Cause I said beginning again. I like. I mean, I love them all, but beginning again. Talk about the making of that song and what was the inspiration for that one.
Beginning again. Yeah. Um, I created that song out of this desire to cling on to something that was not what my circumstance at the time looked like. I was like, there's got to be more to this. Like,
Yeah.
there really has to be. And I was trying to understand what I was going through, through what God might think about it. And he led me to Isaiah 43, where it talks about a river. Well, it talks about God saying that, behold, do you see? I am making a new way. I am causing a river to go through the desert, streams. And I was like, wow, that's really something to see a river going through the desert. And I kind of ran with that theme, and I actually wrote the chorus for that real first and really quickly, because immediately I got this chord progression that was like vibrant and lively and kind of the feel that I wanted. And it was just kind of riffing off of that, and trying to describe the animation that I was feeling inside, responding to that concept, like what, like a river, like through a desert. And from there, you know, sent the demo to my producer, and I was like, I want this to be, a really fun pop-ish kind of song to the album that's, an eclectic kind of collection of different songs. And it just kind of took off from there. But really the theme came from that idea of hope and trying to express hope also in a different way, and like what hope actually means, especially when you're going through something where it's like, I have no cause or reason to try to imagine something different than my circumstance.
Ooh, can you see glass river gliding to the sea, mapping the ways, new ways to be free, as memories of muted sunsets and arguments gone stale and gulping regret fade away. My heart listens as my steps learn the ease of your rhythm and leave behind the things of old for a love I've always known, but relearning in you, I'm beginning again. Ooh, can you see former desert flowing with many streams, reviving all the lost, discarded dreams, and times I've tried.
So yeah, that's beginning again in a nutshell.
And also I like the song Breakfast too, and talk about that song a little bit, if you will. It's one of your longer songs on the album, and I loved it. That's one thing I listened to it actually twice. So, talk about that song a little bit, because I really like that, that song.
So Breakfast, I wanted sort of a cinematic kind of song to be part of the album. And it did end up being kind of like one of the quirkier songs in the album. But like a lot of the other songs that I wrote for this album, I started with the lyrics, because I'm a poet at heart. I love to write. And I was really struck by this passage in the Gospel of John, where Jesus, he appears to the disciples who are out fishing, and this is after he has died and resurrected on the cross, resurrected from the grave. And prior to that, too, Peter, one of the, not just the disciples of Jesus, but one of the really close friends of Jesus among the 12 disciples, he actually betrays Jesus 3 times when Jesus gets, arrested and accused for things that he didn't do. People looked at Peter and said, aren't you a friend of Jesus? And Peter actually denies him 3 times. And the fact that Jesus also predicted that Peter would do that, also when that happened, you could only imagine what Peter had felt, right? This overwhelming sense of guilt and shame, especially, being someone who was so close to him. And this passage in John, which is something I love so much, is when Jesus appears to the disciples, particularly Peter, after that, those moments of betrayal. They couldn't, they were out on the sea trying, fishing and trying to catch some fish, but they couldn't catch anything all night. And Jesus from the shore calls and says, go over there and cast your net over there. And lo and behold, they catch a whole bunch of fish. And then after that part, he calls out to them and says, "Come, I'm making breakfast." And it says in that passage too that Peter actually like dives off the boat and like swims and goes to shore. And Jesus actually has like on a fire like food ready for his friends who were just out working. And after that moment of eating, Jesus actually like redeems Peter by asking him a few questions. And I just thought that was probably a beautifully redemptive moment for Peter, who was probably so racked with guilt, probably so weighed down by shame of betraying someone who was really close to him and denying that he knew him. But Jesus's response to that was, "Hey, I've made breakfast," and then after that, also like redeeming him and restoring him into this sense of love and relationship with no sort of like with no with holding nothing against him.
Gotta make my mark, gotta cast my net far out enough to mean something someday. Who is this specter in the mirror, in my mind, in my mind? Gonna move, gonna make it far, far from the weight drowning me inside. Who is this specter in the mirror, in my mind, in my mind, my mind, in my mind? I was swept up by the current, the sirens call for the final curtain is about to fall. But as I furiously try to earn more and more, I hear your voice beyond the tempest. You call me from shore, making breakfast.
And so that song, I related so much to Peter because there's so much that I've done in my life where I feel like I've been too guilty to even feel like I could relate to God in any way. And so I wrote the verses of Breakfast from yes, like Peter's perspective and how he might have felt, but also that's those verses really spoke to kind of my state of mind. I really felt like I had to earn my right to like even talk to God. I felt like I had to earn things in order to have this right standing. But at the end of the day, he's really just calling out and saying, "Hey, I'm here. Come and eat with me. That's all I actually ask of you. It's for you to draw near and come and eat." And so I really wanted to capture that kind of like not dramatic, but really it is kind of dramatic in the way that like he's just inviting us in, and the sounds and the kind of cinematic quality to that song is trying to capture that like,
Mhm.
hey, from shore, and I'm just like
Yeah.
calling you out from like all the working and striving and earning you're trying to do all the way deep into the waters, like just come, dock your boat, and find rest in me, find rest for your soul. So
Yeah.
um
Regardless
yeah,
of the guilt and regardless of everything you're going through. So that's, I
regardless,
thought,
yeah,
no, I think you summed it up great. And, I think, every song on this album, like I said, for our listeners, go check it out. Feast, obviously, it's amazing. Great work on this. And, talk about your process of writing. Cause I know, there was some passages in the Bible you spoke of, but, is there another, I mean, is there like, do you see something that kind of spurs an idea, or do you hear something that spurs an idea, or where do those words come from, typically when you write a song? And you said that you write it down first and then the melody comes second. Is that your process normally?
normally yes, save for a few exceptions where I've um like heard the melody first or something like that, but almost always it's I have this lyrical concept. Um, and I'm usually like mulling over something in my mind. And because so I have a background in writing. I went to school for English. Um, I just have always tried processing just these really complex thoughts. And to me, God is really complex, but also really like accessible. And I've always just tried to wrap my mind um, around who he is, almost always first through words and then like musically and expression and how I want to, you know, um, approach telling that story, however it comes about. And for example, the title song of the album, Feast, actually wrote that verse first. War rages on the fields of our appetites, fluff masking as meat. Spoiler, you become what you eat. Um, I think I was kind of fed up by um, the fact that there's just so much, there's such a bombardment, such a deluge of so many things. Again, speaking from like personal experience, like there's just so much that's accessible to us now, information wise, entertainment, all of these things, all this noise. And um, I remember thinking that one time also kind of in response to a lot of pop music that I was just listening to, and it felt so manufactured and commercialized. Um, and to me, I'm just like, man, like there's so much that really like wars over our attention and tries to capitalize on our attention and our time. Um, and to me, for that song in particular, I was processing that through poetry, and then kind of I knew for Feast, for example, that song, I wanted to really have the sound of that be stripped down and feel more like soul, acoustic soul. Because I was really trying to talk about the heart of the matter and trying to get down to what's really important. And yeah, so yeah, my process is really a lot of like processing through concepts, through things that I'm witnessing or experiencing through words, and then like trying to see how a sound can also like, capture the essence of that. If I could sum up my process in a short
Yeah.
way, but yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think of secular music? Do you listen to secular music as well, or is it
yeah,
Christian? Okay, yeah,
yeah,
that's one
yeah,
of them that makes you. The reason I asked that is because when I was doing music videos for gospel artists, I mean, the gospel community, sometimes frowned upon gospel singers singing R&B music or something that wasn't gospel music. And I
mm,
mean, there was some very strong feelings that were expressed, in that community. So I was just curious in the, Christian music world, is it accepted, I guess, to listen to secular music if you're a Christian artist?
I guess it really depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
I don't think um, I know that there are Christians who have strong convictions about, not listening to secular music, and um, I know that other Christians don't hold those convictions as strongly. So I don't think there's a overarching consensus. that everyone really agrees to. But I think it really depends on personal conviction. For me, I do listen to secular artists. One of my favorites right now is Olivia Dean. I love her sound, um, and yeah, and she and her songwriting too is just really thought provoking. So I personally like to listen to a wide range of artists just to feel inspired and um, yeah, see what I can go for as well in my
Yeah,
own music.
I heard in your music. I mean, I heard elements of jazz. I heard elements of pop. I heard elements. I mean, there's so many different elements that I've heard, and that's what I think kind of drew me to your songs is that it's a wide variety of genres kind of in one. I thought it was well done, and I mean, musically and vocally, and like I said, the production of your music is really top notch. I mean, I know we spoke before we recorded, but you do some recording at home with your vocals and it's just it's just like I said, and nowadays, because we have a lot of artists that listen, and people I think need to understand that you don't need to be in a studio to get that quality of sound with the software and the plugins and things that you can use today. You don't need necessarily to be in a $1 million studio. You can do a lot of it at home, and I guess the reason I say that is because there's a lot of artists out there that think, have the talent that really don't realize it because they don't think they have the funds or they don't have the connections to to get their music out there. And with all the platforms out there, it's almost a shame, I guess, that there's some talented people out there that don't get their music realized. And, the fact that you have a 10-song album out here, some people would kill just to have a 5-song EP, but you have a 10-song album, and that speaks to your motivation, number one, and your talent. So speak about that. Was that something that it was a long time coming? Is this something that you worked on for a long time? And because that's quite an accomplishment to have a 10-song album. So talk about the making of that and how long did it take you to put it together?
Yeah, so the songwriting aspect of the album probably started in summer of 2020. I wrote Keeper. That was the first song that I wrote for the album. But actually the last song that I finished producing. But for me, the process of writing this album started with this. I was so afraid and actually to just practice and do what I do and then also like share it, that I literally I felt like enough was enough. I needed some help, and so I reached out to the producer of my album, Kyle Novi, amazing producer, mentor. He mentored me in songwriting, and just even not yes in songwriting, but more so in the mindset that I needed to have the confidence to finish songs, because I was the typical start a lot of songs because I've been writing for a long time, but
Yeah.
For me, finishing songs was hard, and then getting to share it, like having the wherewithal to share it, was a whole nother thing.
Well, there's a structure to songwriting too, right?
Sure.
It's not just putting the words out there in the music. There's a structure. There's a
Yeah.
beginning, a middle, and an end, just like a movie, just like anything else.
Yeah.
And people that are artists out there, you have to realize that there is a structure. And if it's not done correctly, it's not going to come out the way you want it, typically.
That's, if you don't know like the tools that you have in your toolkit, like the different kinds of song structures that exist, what you can do, that to me was, something I really needed to learn, even though I was writing poetry a lot and I was writing, kind of a lot of my own more, a lot of my songs like prior to this. But in 2021, I met my mentor, and he really helped kind of, he helped me just with the blockages in my mind, just kind of like let those go and move forward in confidence and embrace who I was as an artist. And for most of these songs, like I wrote them over the course of 2021 to 2023. And I had all the demos finished maybe by January of this year. And then producing and recording the whole album was the effort of this past year. So I think it took around 6 months for 9 out of the 10 songs. I actually worked on the first single of the album, Glory, in 2023, the summer of 2023. And that was the first single to come out. So that was the only song that I didn't work on this past year. So yeah, it has been quite the whirlwind of a process, learning how to record my vocals at home and collaborating with my producer who was based in another state, and yeah, just trying to get the songs pinned down right musically, but the actual structures and the songs themselves, melody, lyrically, those were all finished by the end of 2023, and so this past year was really around production and recording. So
I know
yeah.
you've done some podcasts, but how are you marketing your music? I mean, what's the plan going forward to market this this album? I mean, what are your plans? I mean, do you do not just market it online, but do you also do live performing with the album?
Yes. So this plan is definitely still very much being pinned down, learning as I go, and working with people who are a lot more knowledgeable than I am. For example, Ryan, who connected us together. And yeah, my plan next year is to try to do more live performances, and especially in like the New York area and New Jersey area, and hopefully get the word spread out there. But yeah, a lot of the focus is through online marketing, social media, hopefully opportunities like this to talk about my music and other avenues. So yeah, hopefully a lot more to come in the new year. So
good. That's great. Well, Feast is the album, 10 songs. Great. So how can people find the album and how can they download it?
Sure. It's available on all streaming platforms, anywhere you listen to music, also for purchase on iTunes. I'm also on Bandcamp. If you just search for my artist name, Kathrene Faith, you can purchase my album on that platform as well.
And I just through Google, I mean, you can learn a lot about you, your social media and everything else. I just want to tell everybody out there, it's Kathrene, Faith. It's spelled a little bit different than Kathrene is typically spelled. So I want to make sure people, when you Google it the right way, the right name, and you'll find all of her music and you'll find all of her social media. And again, just best of luck to you, Kathrene. It's so nice to have you on the show, and it's been an honor to have you on. And your music is phenomenal. So thank you for joining us, and best of luck, and hopefully we'll have you back again sometime.
Thanks so much, Dave. I really appreciate it.